did I underestimate this game. I did not expect to clock almost 100 hours in the world of Hogwarts. I'm actually stunned at how good this game is, and I would recommend, if you have not played it yet, to stop this video and go play it, especially if you're on PlayStation Premium, because it's currently up for free, even though we pay for it on the service. That being said, this video will contain no spoilers. However, because I have to show footage from my game, because I love talking about the visuals embedded in each and every pixel, you may see a few things that might appear spoilery, especially if you add a healthy dose of context as well. So if you want to play the game totally blind, which I recommend saving this video until later. Leviosa. Okay, so I'm just gonna call out the greatest visual elephants in the room right now. All of Hogwarts Legacy is stunning. This is a beautiful game. Now, I know a lot of people don't like AAA games because AAA games are vampires to our enjoyment, but this AAA game is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And I know looks is not everything, but you gotta understand I'm an artist. So to me, I hold visuals in the highest esteem. There's something that they did here that is just magical when it comes to the visuals in the game. Whether you're walking around Hogsmeade, the wizarding village, or you're walking around the gloomy, misty woods at night, or flying over Hogwarts, this game just looks stunning. And I think it's one of these weird things where the visuals in the trailers and what you see on YouTube, it's not gonna do the game justice. You have to see this thing played on a TV. I played it on the PS5 Pro, and I honestly feel like it not only looked beautiful, but it ran very smoothly. And I really appreciate that, especially because a lot of games nowadays, they can have things like micro stutter and frame drops all the time. And understandably, this game came out 2 years ago. So when it first came out, a lot of people probably experienced a lot of bugs and so forth and so forth. And this is why I say maybe it's not all that bad that I decided to wait. I did the same thing with Star Wars, which I recently played, and it's the same thing. A lot of the major bugs have been quelled and solved. So the facial animations in this game, I think, should be awarded. This game does a really good job of making you care about characters that you didn't think you'll care about. Shout out to Deke. Deke is a wonderful character. He is an elf. And at first glance, I thought Deke was just kind of a stupid little character. But because the animation delivers his emotion and the voice acting delivers his emotion so well, I actually got attached to the little guy. And he actually ended up becoming one of my favorite characters. Now, other characters like Professor Fig look really, really good. One thing that this game does very well is the differential when it comes to age. Age is shown very well, and I feel like that has a lot to do with the complex facial animations that the studio Warner Brothers has accomplished here. Whether a character is an old sage or a young budding wizard, the age is captured on their faces, and I feel like a little bit of that is not just from character design, but how fluent the animation is, how believable what they're saying is coming across, because their facial expressions support that. And I really appreciate that in my games. Another thing that I noticed about Hogwarts Legacy that plagues other games, and admittedly there's a little bit of it here, is there's a discrepancy between cutscene figures or characters within the cutscenes and characters outside of the cutscenes. One of the things that Harry Potter does really well, it does a good job of merging the two. There is a little bit of a discrepancy between the two. You can tell, okay, this is not the same model they used in the story cutscene, but that model, that secondary model, is still very beautiful at animating and presenting its characters, which is a tall order in my opinion. Because even games like Final Fantasy Rebirth, you can see a discrepancy between main Cloud and village Cloud. Two totally different things. And this level of animation is not just exquisitely done on the characters' facial animations, but animations throughout the game look very fluid. One particular thing that I really love about Hogwarts Legacy is the animation when it comes to cloth. I love how robes look. It came to the point where I almost decided to never go out without my robe, because the robe physics, when your character is swinging their wand flying on a broom or just running around Hogwarts. It looks beautiful. Now there is one small caveat to this. Sometimes the robe physics can kind of fold in on itself and look kind of wonky, but for the most part it is very presentable, whether you're in a cutscene or you're actually running around in real time. So I touched on a little bit of this earlier. The environments are just stellar. They're so stellar. That's one of the things that I really like about the current generation that we're actually in. These consoles, PCs, game developers in general know how to push a good vista and environment most of the time. At least a lot of the games that have a lot of pedigree, they're able to show you some vistas that most of us aren't seeing in real life, which is actually really sad. But because I travel so much, I see a lot of similar things, a similar beautiful vistas that I see in real life replicated in these games so well that it instantly reminds me of those times when I was standing at the edge of a cliff looking at a very beautiful, vibrant sunset, and it's captured here. Now, whether you're outside or inside, it doesn't really matter in this game. The environments just look really, really good. The interiors have so much character in this game because the animation team didn't just stop at animating enemies and characters, but everything from paintings on the wall to things that you think are inanimate objects are animated with such life that it really brings to life their environment. I wish other games did this as well. I feel like it adds to our overall immersion of experience in Hogwarts and experience in Hogsmeade and the surrounding world. I commend them for it. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful game. I cannot stress this enough. Okay, so the number one thing that I really admire about the visuals overall in Hogwarts Legacy is actually the lighting. The lighting in this game is top tier. A lot of times when I'm playing games, especially when you're not in a cutscene, a lot of times the lighting can tend to look flat. It's as if the people who are in control of the camera work forgot the primary rules when it comes to lighting a figure properly. Now, me as an artist, I take liberty with lighting in my work. A lot of times I don't have like a direct lighting, a secondary lighting, and proper cascading shadows on my figures. And that is by choice because I'm trying to accentuate color over form. I know a lot of artists are gonna be like, you have sinned, Jahbu, but that's just how I roll with my art. Now in Hogwarts Legacy, they take these rules to the extreme. If you are in a dark cave, there is still sign of a primary light shining down on a figure most of the time, and that is accompanied by beautiful secondary lighting that typically wraps the face and casts shadows where they would naturally fall. And I think that adds to the immersion of understanding and accepting these characters as real characters instead of just props in a video game. And I think that's magnificently done. This lighting, I'm sweating, I'm getting excited. This lighting is also extended to the environments. If you're walking through a cave and you put up luminoso, I know that's the wrong word. I know that's the wrong spell. But if you put up the light spell, you will see the corresponding shadow pop up behind your character and literally interact with the environment. And I really, really like that. Whatever they did here when it comes to shadows and cast shadows and just lighting in general, I think it's top tier. I cannot praise it enough. There are times when I was in the environment and I literally felt like, look, I would love to visit this in real life. How can we make it happen? Because here, my mind is just on fire right now, taking in these visuals, and I couldn't get enough of it, honestly. So another interesting visual aspect of this game is flight. Flight and flying is done so well in this game. One of my favorite things to do in a game is to go from being primarily land-based to actually flying above the said land that you've been trouncing and trotting upon for hours. I think this actually came from Final Fantasy VII, you know, getting the high wind and flying all over the place. I think that's where it came from. But anyway, in Hogwarts Legacy, flight not only feels good in the controller, but it looks equally as well. When you're flying around, you don't only get the sense that you're really, really high up, because things below tend to blur out as they should in a haze of depth, right? But you're also getting a very, very, very accurate representation of speed. Whatever they did here, I felt like this is reckless and it's dangerous for me to be on a broomstick as a student going at this many miles per hour. It just felt fast. It just felt fast and it looked fast, and it just made me feel like I was the woman in front of the Titanic, but not really, because I was on a broomstick. Sometimes I'll fly and I'll come across the school of Hogwarts and a little tear would just come in my eye, because the sheer beauty of going across and seeing this landscape, I think, is phenomenal. Combat feels amazing, and this is also accommodated by a certain level of pedigree to the highest order. The animations when your character is swinging around that wand and occasionally does the Levioso spell or the Incendio spell, I think is some of the best I've seen in gaming. Maybe that's a little bit hyperbolic, but it just looks fantastic. It looks fantastic. And again, your robe is flailing around behind, giving you a real sense of power. I felt very powerful in the combat, and that is something that I feel like is actually very hard to get just right. Okay, it's like sometimes when you're playing a shooter, right, and you shoot something, sometimes it doesn't feel very impactful. Sometimes when you're in a game and you swing around your sword, the sword just doesn't feel like it's connecting with the enemy, right? In Hogwarts Legacy, when I shoot a magic fireball at an enemy and there's this huge explosion and that enemy goes flying, it just feels great. And they have a really wonderful physics engine to back up each and every impact. One of my favorite things to do in the game when it comes to combat was doing Levioso, following it up with an Incendio. I did that practically the whole game. I always felt powerful, whether it's freezing them in place, shattering them, letting them spin around in circles until they go crazy. I think that combat in this game is very frantic and it's very fun. So the number one thing that I liked in Hogwarts Legacy when it comes to visual is the main star of the show, rightfully so. It is the School of Hogwarts. I've watched each Harry Potter at least once, and I didn't remember just how insanely magical the School of Hogwarts is. Because I remember feeling the same thing in the movies, like, wow, I kind of want to get a bachelor's here. Like, this school is amazing. You got shit flying around everywhere, and it just felt magical. It's no different in the game. In fact, I would say, because I am biased towards game, that the game did it better than the movies, in my opinion. When you're walking around Hogwarts and you witness grunting coming from what you deem is a lifeless suit of armor, right? To then later on discovering the two armor standing side by side, duking it out until one of them pops into pieces. That is magical. I literally thought I was kind of losing it, because I kept hearing like fighting going on, commotion going on, and to my dismay, I caught another armor guard or statue or suit of armor stomping the other one out, and I thought it was gorgeous. I thought it was beautiful and hilarious at the same time. There's another time I remember walking around and hearing like beautiful orchestrated music coming from the hallway, and it shocked me when I realized that these are actually the paintings performing. All of the players lined the wall with the conductor in the middle, and they're having the most beautiful ensemble of music while also giving us a visual representation through art that's on the wall. I really like that idea. I wish I could do that with my paintings. If somebody standing there and just starts coming to life, that would be so fire. So I took a little jab at the movies, and I'm gonna take a little jab again. The magical staircase, the game does it much better. In the movies, they had this big lunking staircase that kind of moved across, and we knew back then it most likely wasn't CGI. It probably was, who knows, but it looked kind of mechanical, so there's a little jankiness in there. But in the game, you're walking out and you feel like you're gonna fall flat on your face several stories, and those stairs come out in unison and just start rattling all the way up around to the top floor. It looks magnificent, and it's accompanied by the beautiful portraits that come to life on the wall. The devs packed so much magical detail into the wall of Hogwarts that I honestly didn't want to stop exploring that place. Just fantastic, just fantastic. And in terms of visuals, I think this game is gorgeous. I think it's a beautiful statement to why video games, even ones that are tied to big IPs, can still be very artistic in its presentation. I feel like this is a great example of how you do your visuals in your game. Now, here are my nitpicks / dislikes. So buckle up. Okay. So I'm gonna start out with probably my most annoyed thing in Hogwarts Legacy, and they are not unique to this problem. Enemy variety is very sparse in Hogwarts Legacy. There are literally probably around 8 varying types of enemies in this game, and I think that is a very small amount given how big and expansive this game is, right? And because it's a magical world, so there's literally no excuses for what kind of enemy can be enchanted or what kind of thing could be enchanted and used against you as an enemy. So in this game, primary things that you will fight, unfortunately, are dark wizards, spiders, many spiders, and trolls. And I know they have a few variant things, a few additional variants like toads and such and so forth, but the enemy pool is very small in this game, and I felt like it was kind of disappointing that the majority of the boss fights were actually either a troll or something akin to a troll or some giant piece of armor, right? Enchanted armor. I wish they had more unique boss fights. The final boss fight I think was fantastic. It was done really well. I wish they would have had that level of combat other places throughout your adventure while at Hogwarts, but unfortunately they didn't. You could use magic to create any type of enemy. It's a shame that it wasn't seen here. And I don't know if this is because of the actual lore in Harry Potter, why they have such a small amount of enemies. To all my Harry Potter fans, please fill me in the comment section below if I'm incorrect about this, because the lore supports it. It's kind of similar to how in Star Wars you're always fighting Star Troopers and they often miss because that's like lore accurate. Is it similar for Harry Potter, for all my Harry Potter people? Because I just wanted to fight more things. I wanted to fight more ancient evils and things like that. I wanted to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there should be more sorcering enemies in this game. Not to say that the combat is boring. The combat is not boring. It does get a little bit redundant when you're fighting the same things over and over and over. I remember going through this one side quest that was actually incredible. Actually incredible. For those of you who play the game, it's the side quest that involves acquiring a certain building / store. I'm not gonna go any further than that, but that quest was great. And for those of you who played the game, you know what I'm talking about. At the end of that quest, you fight a boss that I thought was gonna be a unique boss because it was the perfect time to show this to your player, right? And it ended up being pretty much a cleverly reskinned troll, and I was like really disappointed about that because I actually got stuck in that side quest and I wanted to like feel fulfilled by kicking some ancient creature's ass or like something, you know, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. So yeah, enemy variety could use some work. Okay, thing number 2, there is no auto attack in this game, and for those elderly, older people like myself that are coursing our way through middle agedness, our fingers can't take too much repetition. And the fact that the main attack of this game is the R2 trigger, your finger, your index finger will go on fire if you dare do any combat trials in this game. I don't know why for the life of me, because this game has a lot of really good accessibility features. Did they not put a auto attack? Or at bare minimum, you can have a 3-piece combo when you hit the button once. Because again, your finger will fall completely off after playing those trials. I did one trial and I said never again, because that shit hurts. So honestly, I feel like that's a huge overstep in the game. Others may differ because they might spam the negativity of getting good, but when your anatomy is not equipped with that kind of endurance, you will suffer trying to enjoy this game if you're not careful. Luckily, the regular fights can be easy enough, and they have a difficulty slider. So if it's too much work, just put it on story mode or easy and just one-shot these fools, because it's not worth it. Like, you only have one set of hands. You have many games to play. You have a lot more to play. And one major downfall to this game is something my best friend and I got into a very big debate over one night. It was almost for like 2 hours. Yeah, we can do that sometimes. Is a character, Sebastian. Yeah, Sebastian. That's it. That's all I want to say. That's all my nitpicks about Hogwarts Legacy. The game was fire. If you're in... Oh, okay, let me rewind, because I know Nemesis is like, so you're not going to expand upon? No, okay, for the sake of the story, I'll just say this. That guy's a piece of shit. Sebastian shouldn't exist. That's all I got to say about that. And sadly, I thought he was going to be my best friend. But yeah, I don't like him, if you can't tell already. But shout out to all the professors. Shout out to Professor Fig. Professor Fig held it down. Shout out to Deke, because Deke is loyal to the end. Free all elves, because I don't like the elves being in servitude. I think that's very wrong. I don't give up what your law say. Servitude is wrong. That's coming from a black man. Anyway, having too much fun. Overall, I think if you have the slightest inclination to play this game, I would definitely play it. Whether you get it on sale or play it on PSN Premium Plus or whatever. I feel like, yes, after the initial shoot-off point for the story, it does slow down a little bit. But I feel like you should use this time to really get immersed into being a student at Hogwarts. If you get immersed by playing the role of a student, you're going to have a grand time, because the whole game is focused around you being a transfer student, coming to Hogwarts and figuring your way out. And all of us can relate to being the new kid somewhere. So I think the story is very good. The gameplay is top notch. And I just think it's a really good game. It really blew my expectations out of the water as one of the most magical games I've ever played. So play Hogwarts Legacy. For those of you who have no idea who I am, my name is Jahbu Ori. I am an artist that loves to talk about the visuals in games. If you would like to see my work that I spend eons working on, I think that my most recent painting, I spent like 4 months, 5 months, something like that. I take my time. I don't prompt. I take my time and I paint properly. So things take a very, very long time. I release probably 3 paintings a year, so I spend a lot of time on my work. And I think it's kind of like a game. You build up the hours and the end product, that ending is really good. And then you get sad because you have to move on to something else, and that's where I'm at now. So I'm trying to use gaming to remedy that feeling of letting go. If you would like to see my work, you can head over to my website, jahbu.com. Have a gander. If you're feeling inspired, you can actually buy some art. If you are on social media, especially Instagram, I'm primarily on Instagram nowadays and YouTube, but I am just JAHBU_art. I do a lot of fantastical African art that is near and dear to me. I am super inspired by all things Africa. So yeah, I love painting, man. I love painting and gaming. But I wish I could go to Ouagadougou, man. I wish I could just attend Ouagadougou. I want to see Ouagadougou, yo. That is the biggest sorcery, wizarding, witch school in all of the earth in that universe. And we don't even get to see it. Oh, so sad. Anyway, my wonderful, powerful people, one love. Peace. Up, I would like to become a wizard. I would like to attend a school in Uganda called Ouagadougou and become supreme wizard of all wizards. Levioso! Incendio!